Welcome. You are tuning into the webinar on how creative practices can help you get in touch with your emotions. Thanks for joining me. I'm Joanne. I'm the owner of Be Well with Dr. Joanne, a creative wellness education program. I also have a background as a psychologist and am currently assistant professor at the Oregon Health Sciences University. And the primary aim of my creative wellness education program is number one, to nurture wellness through creative exploration and to inform people about health benefits of creative activities. I do think that most people realize how beneficial art and crafts are, but there are lots of specific ways that creative activities can enhance mental health function and cognitive function that people don't really know about. So I feel like it's my job to spread that information around. And through my courses like this one, or free guides, or my in person wellness retreat in September, I'm trying to teach others how to engage in creative wellness practices in order to improve their mental health and wellness. This is something that's made such an important impact in my life and my work. It's really helped me prevent burnout and instead really thrive in a really busy, fast paced, intense work environment. And I think that I can help you as well. This specific webinar is geared towards those who feel like they might be leaning towards the emotional avoidant end of things. So people who have a hard time expressing their emotions, people who may not acknowledge how they're feeling, especially if it's uncomfortable. People who might minimize how they feel, maybe say they're fine, but they're really not. People who have a hard time being open and vulnerable, especially when they think that doing so may be a weakness. People who might engage in distractions to avoid feeling. Um, Distractions could be self medicating or playing video games or shopping. All of these things could be used to cope with feelings. Some people also deflect or deny how they feel, and they have a hard time naming emotions. They might just be aware of a few kinds of emotions, but there are so many nuanced ways that feelings come up. People who have hard time engaging in emotional conversations, which can be really a problem in intimate relationships, and people who tend to isolate themselves or focus on logic as the only way to view situations. This webinar is geared towards these types of people because I find that the creative wellness activities are particularly effective in helping people who avoid emotions get in touch with emotions in a safe and palatable way. It's not as a direct approach to getting in touch with emotions than, let's say, talking about it with a therapist or even reading or journaling. Sometimes those can feel a little bit too um, confrontational and too intense. Whereas crafting and doing other creative activities can be a really nice um, indirect approach because often you're engaging with symbols or representations of your feelings and not looking at it head on. So just maybe think about if you might identify with any of these elements of emotional avoidance. And then we'll move on. I really wanted to go over an example, and today we're going to talk about Emily. It's important to look at examples because there may be elements of emotional avoidance that we went over just now that you don't really resonate with. But when we go through a real life example, you might say, yeah, actually, that really looks a lot like how I deal with my feelings. All right, so Emily is a 32-year-old marketing professional, and she's always been described as being level headed and composed by those around her. She prides herself on her logical thinking and problem solving skills, and she often finds herself struggling when it comes down to dealing with her own emotions. Okay, so just kind of take that in. Does any of that resonate with you? Emily has always prided herself in her ability to maintain composure and be rational, even in the face of challenging situations. So that like cool under pressure feeling is what Emily likes to pride herself in having. And when she goes through things like a difficult breakup, which she just went through with her long-term partner, she employs her usual strategy of emotional avoidance. She buries her feelings of heartbreak, sadness, and even anger deep within herself and is convinced that showing vulnerability would only make her appear weak. So she doesn't talk to friends about how sad she is. She doesn't talk to coworkers. She doesn't really even acknowledge it herself. She just tries to power through the day. But in the days following the breakup, Emily, although she focused on work, she threw herself into projects and meetings to distract her from emotions. She declined invitations to spend time with friends, fearing that opening up would result in a flood of emotions she wasn't prepared to handle. And although that seemed like the right thing to do, her emotional avoidance strategy resulted in her having a hard time sleeping. So, sleepless nights, constant tension, and a growing sense of emptiness were becoming hard to ignore. So Emily was starting to really suffer from not getting in touch with what was happening and not getting the support she needed. But one afternoon, while aimlessly scrolling through social media, she noticed a post from one of her friends. The post showcased a beautiful piece of embroidery that a friend had created. Intrigued by the intricate design and the idea of channeling emotions through creative medium, Emily decided to explore it further. So this was more palatable for Emily because it was a different topic than her breakup. It was doing something creative. It was not directly related to her breakup. And she was able to focus on something like a hobby. She found herself at a local craft store, staring at rows of colorful threads and fabric. Unsure of where to start, she picked out a simple embroidery kit with a pre printed pattern. With the kit in hand, Emily sat down at her kitchen table, needle in hand, and began stitching. At first, her stitches were hesitant and uneven. That's how we all start, right? But as she continued, something unexpected happened. She pulled the thread through the fabric. She felt a connection between her hand and the heart. With each stitch, she allowed herself to think about the breakup, the feelings she had been avoiding, and the memories that still lingered. So there's something that happens when you're doing something with your hands. There's enough of a focus, maybe like spreading out the focus onto your hands and what your hands are doing, allows your mind to kind of visit other things that are going on inside. And that's what happened with Emily. She started to kind of get in touch with her feelings from the breakup. And as the days turned into weeks, Emily found herself stitching more and more. She once used a pre-printed pattern for her first project, but then she started to experiment on her own with different colors, stitches, and patterns. Each one told a different part of her story. And through this rhythmic motion of stitching, she began to unravel emotions she had been holding deep within. So there was some transformation happening. Some shifting was really happening inside Emily. Through the stitching, Emily was giving way to emotions she had been avoiding for so long. The quiet moments of stitching allowed her to reflect, to grieve, and to come to terms with the end of her relationship. It wasn't a quick fix, but with every stitch she felt a sense of release and relief. Over time, Emily's stitching transformed from a simple craft to a powerful tool for emotional healing. Through the act of creating something beautiful from thread to fabric, she was also creating a path to healing her heart. The more she stitched, the more she realized that facing her emotions head on was not a sign of weakness, but a testament to her strength and resilience. This scenario portrays how Emily discovered stitching as a creative practice and applied it to her emotional avoidance challenge and helped her cope with her breakup. Creative activities serve as a catalyst for emotional exploration, healing, and personal growth. Emily's creative journey did not erase her emotional struggles, but it did help her bridge to her emotions. The symbolism in her stitching allowed her to explore her feelings indirectly, and as she stitched, she found herself stitching together pieces of herself that had long been disconnected. Through stitching, Emily gained a newfound sense of empowerment. She realized that confronting her emotions didn't lead to chaos. Instead, it allowed her to create something beautiful from her emotional landscape. Stitch by stitch, she wove together her emotions, forming a stronger connection with herself and fostering emotional resilience. So, here is a recap of the benefits of a creative practice when getting in touch with emotions. Creative practices help you indirectly express how you feel through symbolic representation. Maybe you are feeling sad, and so you stitch like a scene, like a tree that might be kind of losing its leaves, or maybe you stitch a cartoon of a kid who's just scraped their knee. Right? These are indirect expressions of what you're feeling. Um, Creative wellness can also help you emotionally explore in a gradual way. It's kind of like like going up the ladder from easy to more difficult experiences of getting in touch with your emotions. When you're doing the creating, you're engaging in mindfulness, so it increases mindful focus, which is very good for your health and wellness. And there's a cathartic release that really helps to regulate your emotions in the moment when you're creating. You are being mindful, you're creating something, you're doing something that's satisfying, you're expressing what you're feeling and externalizing, which can really feel like you're letting go. And there's a lot of benefits to nonverbal expression. Sometimes words really just get in the way. We really need to express how we're feeling through images. And through this experience of creating and having a tangible object in front of you that you've put together, there's empowerment and personal growth that comes from it. Okay. Here are some tips for how you might want to start your journey of emotional engagement through creating. You might want to start by just kind of browsing online and maybe Pinterest or Instagram of people who are doing lots of creative things. So explore different creative outlets. Is it woodworking or like the fiber arts, which is my favorite thing? Or maybe it's through writing poetry or dancing or creating new dishes, right? Trying new recipes. And then once you come to kind of a decision on what you want to try, and try not to be too perfectionist about this. Like it's really important to just start somewhere. You might just do some research on what some basic supplies might be, and it does take some investment to get started. You'll have to put some money into it and time in purchasing these items, but it is well worth it. And then I suggest starting with a really small project, something to just get your feet wet. You might find an example online that inspires you. That's actually where I usually start. I find something that I find really interesting or funny or pretty, and I try to imitate it. And then you set your intention and goal. What do you want to accomplish? Do you want to just do this for a certain amount of time every day? Or do you want to finish the project by a certain date? Set your intention and goals. And then when you're engaging in the practice, try not to judge or say if your work is good or bad or compare with others. This process is your own and it's unique in every way. There's no one who can say it's good or bad. It's just what you're deciding to do as part of your growth process. Embrace progress over perfection. So every stitch, every stroke of your paintbrush is progress. That's you taking a step in a direction of getting in touch with yourself. And that's all that matters. As we talk about where to start, I wanted to tell you that I'm offering an in-person retreat to help people get started. So basically, the previous slide that I just showed you is going to be what we're doing at this mindfulness retreat. This 2.5 to 3 day retreat, it's really 2 half days and 1 full day, will be at the Society Hotel in Bingen, Washington, which is about 1 hour east of Portland, Oregon. It's a spa hotel, beautiful spa hotel with amenities that are free for you to use as a guest. And I'm offering 4 hands-on workshops to learn how to engage in mindful embroidery, mindful stitch. It's modern embroidery, so it's not what you might imagine your grandmother doing. This is something I've done as my version of mindful stitch. I have a lot of other examples I can show you if you're interested too. You can contact me for a free discovery call if you're interested. The cost currently is $675, but I'm really open to providing discounts for people who are low income, or if you bring a buddy, there's a 10% discount right now. And if you're the next person who signs up, there's a 10% discount because I'm offering that to the early birds, and there's 1 more spot. Accommodations are extra, so they are about $49 a night for a hostel-style bunk bed to $200 a night for a bedroom with a queen bed in a 2-bedroom cabin that you'll share with another retreat goer. If you'd like more information, I have a landing page here. If you can just copy and paste this link, it will also be in my in the bio of the YouTube profile that I have. And these are the main elements of the retreat. It's a safe place to express and explore feelings without judgment. We are going to be doing things together, and I'll be guiding you. So you won't have to think. And you won't have, well, you'll have to think, but you won't have to really figure it out yourself. I'll be teaching you how to do basic stitch with the brief tutorial, and then I'll show you kind of the first steps to engage in modern embroidery. You'll be led through many mindfulness exercises throughout your creative work, and this will help you get in touch with all the nuanced experiences that you'll be having as you immerse yourself in this creative activity. So how the materials feel in your hands, what sorts of experiences you're having as you're being prompted, what thoughts are coming up, what images are coming up. All of that will be captured as we engage in mindfulness. And I will be the instructor for this retreat. I've led many workshops, experiential and didactic, and I have experience holding space for others in a group format. You'll also be probably experiencing some transformation and empowerment through putting your internal experiences out there in a tangible format. By externalizing in this way, often there's lots of shift and transformation that occurs. And finally, you'll be given these lasting tools that you'll be able to integrate into your daily life and hopefully be part of your health and wellness routine going forward. So that's it for today. Thanks for tuning into this webinar. It was really fun to do, and I am happy to answer any questions. Feel free to reach out to me to book a free discovery call if you have any questions about what I talked about today or the retreat. I look forward to hearing from you. Take care.